tree, which during that time I was there didn't encourage me much. She remained very weak, very petatina. And after many years, almost 20 years later, I come back. Almost not 20 years later, I returned to the seminary of Labrasa. And the first thing I wanted to do was go where was the blessed tree I liked so much, and that I had a desire to see growing. And what was my surprise? That tree was huge, beautiful. I was so thrilled with a little and silly thing that I spoke so much to my heart. Because in that tree I identified precisely this patience we need to have with the time of waiting. What I hope, may it be a big, showy tree. But I need to understand that she has a process. Life is like this, my people. And our anxieties are directly linked to this inability to allow each thing to grow in time. That life has rules. That even people have rules. Yesterday, a person asked me on Twitter, Father, what do I do with a friend I hurt, and now I'm wanting to ask him for forgiveness? But he doesn't even want to receive me. Wait for his time. People have their time. It's no use wanting to break into his house and want him to listen to what he doesn't want to hear now. Life is like this. Sooner or later, these ties fall. You will look again naturally to the other. Forgiveness happens naturally. Now, if you force, you risk further harming what you want to happen. And that is why even the commitment to the realization of the dream has to go through moderation. Everything in life, my people, is a matter of balance. There is that song that Layla Pinheiro. Everything is a matter of moment. Then she is talking, keeping the spine straight, the heart quiet. The song she sings speaks precisely from this. The need you have to keep the plumb, to maintain the balance, that you dose well the past, the present, and the future. For you to live well. We are not naive to think that we can live only from the present-el. That would be to limit human experience. I'm not a fan of limiting human experience. I think the more we can qualify the human experience, the better. So the qualified human being is the one who is in the present time with the ability to look at his past with wisdom and also look with hope for his future. And then you identify that what you want lacks time to mature. It would be so much better if we all knew how to live these waits. It would be so much more interesting if we could have the ability to wait for the other, or to identify the time to advance, or the time to stop, to wait, or even to get back a little. That life is like this, my people. Sometimes when you go too much, you risk entering territories that are not yet yours. And then it causes strangeness to yourself. How many times have I lived this? My anxiety led me to occupy a place that was not yet to me. It could even be in the future. But it wasn't yet. It was not the exact moment. And because I wanted to advance, I ended up hurting the realization of that dream. The realization of that sphere. So live, Lina. Live the spheres, period. And you know how to identify what is God's desire for you. Pay close attention to your gift and see what in this gift you can already do to anticipate your future or to prepare your hopes. If I am jealous, that harms me in my relationships. I am jealous of my children. I am jealous of my friends, my husband, my wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. Why? Because she deprives us to live the good of the relationship. We know by the most B that where there is jealousy, there is no peace. The person is not quiet. She's all the time there wanting to find out she can. This is not peace. The good of the relationship is when you establish a relationship of trust. I always had this with my mother, for example. I never watched my jealousy in my mother since little boy. And I find it beautiful that she has a great generosity that makes her feel happy every time she sees someone loves me and takes care of me. Unlike some mothers, who has a real dread of thinking that someone can do for his son what she is not doing. This is selfishness, so it's a sin. My jealousy can make me a selfish person, because instead of rejoicing what the other is receiving, because it is not me who am giving, then it is not good, not good, start by defect. I start to curse that person just because she's doing for someone I love. I can't. Or even because at that moment, I am not present. So see how sin can be a source of sin. Or rather, see how jealousy can be a source of sin. Because he can make us assume selfish postures. I'm jealous of my friends, so I get upset great enough for that person to the point of rejoicing at her joys. Glad she's having other friends beyond me. Glad she is able to celebrate life with other people, and I keep having my place. So, because of jealousy, we build a home of sin, which is selfishness. The jealousy itself is not even sinful if you think. Jealousy is an immediate reaction that we can have, which is the result of our insecurity, of our fear, which can put us in insecurity about that person. But this can become sin. Suddenly, I'm jealous of my friend with that other person. What I'll do, I will enhance that other person to feel comfortable with the jealousy I have, so I think I am right. I will start putting that person in a devilish perspective. Oh, why? I am jealous of my friend, so I will enhance his other friends, invent stories, say that that person did that. All because we want to tear that friend of ours from that new friendship. This is very common in mothers who start putting 1,000 flaws in generating, or on the daughters that boys and girls start dating. Because we are insecure, we are afraid of losing our children. So, this sin, it begins like this. With a natural feeling in way. If we do not, sometimes, because we are moved by anxieties that predeterminate us, we transform what the other told us in what we would like to hear. Why do we do this, right? Sometimes the other tells us something, and our anxiety is so great that we have already transformed what the other tells us about what we would like to hear, or what we would imagine that the other would tell us, which is also a mistake, that we put the other inside a prison by preventing him from being who he is, and even saying what he says. Our understanding cheats on us. That is why it takes a lot of discernment, a lot of lucidity, so that we do not feed within us these vicious processes to transform what the other told us in what we would like to hear. A person in love, for example, tends to read, listening to everything the other says, everything the other writes, from what is interested in thinking, as if it were a form of protection, right? Is that what the person wants so much will not crumble with reality, with the inadjured, and it builds that sand of sand, dreams, and everything the other writes she thinks is for her, and everything the other says she thinks it was for her. Careful, the other has the right to say many things, and that is not for us. We don't sit in anyone's center of the world. It is very pretentious. Much has happened this in my life. Being a public man, how many times I publish, write texts, phrases, and the person thinks I'm sending a message. My God, with the opportunity, I have to say what I say to so many people. I who value so much for telling the truth to those who need to hear. Why am I going to use a social network to send a message to someone? What may happen is that according to a fact, as a consequence of that event, I was upset and reflected on it. I write a while later. I don't even like to write too close to the event so as not to give this impression. But no, the other has the right to know in the most direct way. So everything we need to say, we need to say. But then let's stop imagining that the other is saying this or that. Let us allow the word to tell us the truth. Only the truth. Nothing more than the truth. And what we imagine, what we are anxious, that all this falls apart, so that the other can tell us what he really said, and not what we would like to hear. Sometimes, because we are moved by anxieties that predetermine us, we transform what the other told us about what we would like to hear. Why do we do that? It is so common. Sometimes the other tells us something, and our anxiety is so great that we have already transformed what the other tells us about what we would like to hear. Or else, our understanding cheats on us. That is why it takes a lot of discernment, a lot of lucidity, so that we do not feed within us these vicious processes to transform what the other told us in what we would like to hear. A person in love, for example, tends to read, listening to everything the other says, everything the other writes, from what is interested in thinking, as if it were a form of protection, right? So that what the person wants so much will not crumble with reality and builds that castle of sand, dreams, and everything the other writes she thinks for her, and everything the other says she thinks it was for her. Careful. The other has the right to say many things. We don't sit in anyone's center of the world. It is very pretentious. This has happened a lot in my life. Being a public man, how many times have I published, right? Texts, phrases, and the person thinks I'm sending a message. Oh my God! With the opportunity I have to say what I say to so many people, I who value so much for telling the truth to those who need to hear, because I will use a social network to send message to someone. What may happen is that according to a fact, as a consequence of that event, I was upset and reflected on it. I write a while later. I don't even like to write too close to the event so as not to give this impression. But not. You have the right to know in the most direct way. So everything we need to say, we need to say. But then, let's stop imagining that the other is saying this or that. Let the word let us tell us the truth. Only the truth. Nothing more than the truth. And that we imagine. Because we are anxious that all this falls apart so that the other can tell us what he really said and not what we would like to hear. Because we have so much anxiety and because we even fear waiting. Guys, the wait is undoubtedly a moment in life when we risk thinking that we are not living. Which is, as I said there, the wait she contextualizes between the past and the future, isn't it? Because I'm here at my present moment, but my heart is stuffed with waiting. How can I make these waits in my favor? How do I do not live the present moment, full of situations that make me wait and that make me lose the bond with the story? With the present moment, this is precisely the moment I start working on what I expect. It may seem strange that, right? Is this going to build the wait? How am I going to work on what I hope? I look at what I expect and discover what I hope can be done today. Because happiness does not fall from heaven. Isn't that how we learn from a young age? That if we want to be happy, do we have to run after? So it is. Every day, what we expect can start to happen through a gesture. Something you can help realize hopes. And I know that within mystical religious language, we often expect. We say that, I hope in God. As the music of Eliana Ribeiro, Wait in the Lord. How do we expect in the Lord? Realizing in my life now what God gives me so that I can accomplish. Funny, I give this as a testimony of mine. I never went to run far behind things, but I knew how to enjoy every opportunity that was given to me. Of course, am I anxious? I am naturally anxious. If I could, I wanted the trees in my house to be all the size of this studio here. 10 meters high. I have difficulty planting one. Today, I was on the internet. I typed like this on Google, trees that grow fast. And after I typed, I was laughing alone. I discovered a tree. Christian. That reaches 6 meters high in a year. Isn't that wonderful? It is the solution for my problems, because I like the tree. And if I could, I would reforest the world. Every place I see cut trees, I have sun, I suffer. And then I was laughing at my anxiety about wanting the trees to grow quickly. I wondered, my God in heaven. And this blessed tree that grows quickly, I saw that it is only for reforestation. Can I have one of these in my house? Will it not create these dangerous roots that will break the house of the whole neighborhood? Then I stayed there in my anxiety of wanting grown trees around me. Because I need green. I need life by my side. I need bird breaking down. I need it. That's why I like this rural life. I am modern, I am contemporary, alive in the city. But I confess that I like is the fields. And then I was there dealing with my anxiety and thinking, my God. But how can we reconcile what we want with what we already have? And then we pass. Then we have to enter the context of mercy. I need to have patience with other creatures that don't have the same speed as my dream. And this adaptation is a matter of maturity. We don't get it overnight, but it has to be a daily exercise. I need all the time to look at my tiny trees there and believe that they will grow. The other day, I even had a great joy. When I was a seminarian, I planted a tree at the Lavras Seminary. And for the 3 years I lived there in Lavras, I watered that tree religiously. I always gave a way to go there, connected a hose. Just her, the others not. Why? What did I identify? That my tree, the one I took a taste for her, that I had an identification with her, was the fragile of Al. And then I looked at that tree like a person needing, because I was always a little crazy like that. I even told me that I already found Combi a sad car, that my father had a van, that of the sad eyes, which I talked to her, which I explained to her that she was uglier than the other, who had the eyes more open. He says she was very special to us, so I was always a little crazy. I was talking to the cars my father had. I thought they were understanding everything I was saying, so I already had this habit of having to think there was a sensitivity there, that if I talked to her, she would be understood what I said. Everything not. So it said, look, you are weaker than the others, but I think it will work. You will grow. You will look beautiful. And I'm bringing the water here to help you. My posture was for almost 3 years, taking care and always looking at that. As we wrap up another insightful session at Path of Faith, we encourage you to be part of our community by commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Together, let's spread the light of faith far and wide.